Hey everyone, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. Wednesday, June 19th. Just a quick midweek recap. Big Wednesday with the Fed coming out with their minutes from the meetings and sort of future of rate cuts as it looks like. No rate cut immediately, but opening the door for rate cuts later in maybe July, September, which I think if you looked at most of the consensus, I think that's where most people were. There were some pretty crazy predictions one way or another, but I think that's kind of where the consensus lay. So market responded relatively positively. And you can see these indexes here. This is why you do not trade right when there's a new news release like the Fed meeting minutes. You see how crazy this thing was, this knee-jerk reaction, I'll call it, just a crazy swing. So it's always good after these releases to let things settle out a little bit. You can see the markets popped up, pulled back a little bit, and then up they went, especially the NASDAQ. And NASDAQ had a couple of bits of good news. One, the trade talks announcements that there is some trade talks going on with China. Although I'm really not hopeful that much is going to come of this. This is a really big issue with the U.S. and China and intellectual property, and it's not just a matter of who buys how much of what. There's some big issues here on the table, and I'm not sure that China's ready to move off their position, and I'm guessing that the U.S. isn't either. So, but anyway, well, let's see what happens. G20 coming up at the end of the month. There may be some smiles and handshakes, but maybe nothing substantive coming out of it. Let's take a look at where we are. Like I said, we had a pretty good day. We closed off the highs of the day in all the indexes, but responded relatively well to the news, the Fed news. You can see here, after we remove this, that healthcare and utilities were the ones that led the way at the end of the day. Again, these are the safety trades. Technology is coming back a little bit here, but yeah. So healthcare and utilities still looking at 1 month performance, still the safety trade, if you want to call it that. See what the interest rates did. Of course, looking like it's going to head lower. So this the 10-year Treasury dropped a little bit further. RSI dropped down below the really oversold condition, below 30, and we'll see where it ends the week. But it looks like it's heading lower. Still, indexes, like I said, the doji candle here. Just indecision candle today, and we're up right near close to the highs, so I think we're going to maybe struggle to get any higher. We'll see what happens tomorrow, maybe a gap up and a sell-off. The IWM, probably one of the better indexes, the small caps, again, somewhat sheltered from China trade talks, etc., and it actually closed up on the day pretty close to the high of the day. So I'd be looking for small caps to go higher. You could play that with TNA. Volume was a little on the light side in that, but again, RSI going up, MACD heading positive still. We're going to skip over the weeklies because we're only halfway through the week here. So you can see here, again, the QQQs finished up on the day, but off the high of the day, so we'll see if it can push a little higher here. Again, we're getting close to previous highs, so let's see how the morning opens tomorrow. Probably a gap up again. I'm guessing we'll maybe a bit of a sell-off and then maybe a comeback. SPY, S&P 500, large caps, again, gapped up, finished higher on the day, a little bit off the day's high, and again, real close to this all-time high made back in May. So maybe heading back there again. Eventually. The dollar really sold off. Obviously, interest rates lower. The dollar just sold off, bounced off this 50-day moving average. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not really sure right now, but these moving averages are still trending higher. So a pretty big volume day, of course, with the announcement on on the interest rates. So, and the VIX really just got slammed here today, again down, and you can see it's again we've got the Fed in there, basically saying we're going to support, we're going to support the market. So any volatility is just getting sucked out of the market here. So VIX continues to drop. See what we got on watch here. Been watching the Chinese internet stocks. Didn't really do that well today. We had a up day yesterday, significant pullback, so it really finished well off the highs, almost in the middle of the range, and then we had a gap up and a pullback again. So I don't think the Chinese internet stocks are ready to bust out here. Baidu is looking pretty close to maybe making a move, so we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow. Facebook did a bit of a pullback yesterday, and today wasn't really. Yesterday being Tuesday, and today was a bit of a reversal candle. Not on great volume though, so we'll see what happens. I guess they came out with their coin announcement, and then Congress and sort of made some negative comments. Wanted to talk to them about that initiative. And the home builders sold off, tried to break out here, and they've just been struggling. So it's kind of interesting. With interest rates going lower, you would think the housing market would be still pretty strong. KWEB, again, the Chinese internet ETF, not doing much of anything, struggling. Micron sold off today. Nothing interesting there. Roku just looks like it wants to go higher. I did take a little bit of this right at the close because it looked like it was going out on the high. So I'll be looking at that in the morning. It's probably going to gap up and take some off there. But that was just a last-minute decision at the end of the day with the markets closing, or Roku closing strong. So semis just sort of stalled out there, not really low on volume on the SMH ETF, so nothing to see there. Natural gas decided to break down today, and I didn't catch that, but unfortunately, yeah, that was a nice move on there. And I was looking at USO. You could play this through UWT, but it does look like it might be trying to break out here. So we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow. 1150 is one area of resistance, and then if we can get through that, we'd be probably looking at a gap close of 1177, taking a stop around 11. So we'll see where UWT goes tomorrow, or USO goes. Let's take a look at UWT. Yeah, so it looks like it might be on the verge of breaking out here. If it can, like I said, we could get up on UWT up to 1330-ish, and then maybe even 1440. So we'll see where that goes. All right, everybody. Well, it was a pretty crazy day. It was kind of quiet at the open, waiting for the announcements, and then they came out and kind of got what we wanted. So we'll see what the rest of the week brings. Here's my book on Amazon, How to Swing Trade. If you haven't checked it out, feel free. And we'll see you in the Bear Bull Trading Room tomorrow morning. I believe Andrew is at the Benzinga conference, so he will be presenting at that and probably will not be able to make it in the room for the open. So myself and Carlos will be there. See everyone tomorrow morning.